but somebody that knew the late Arch so well and is a close friend of the family, as well as a woman who's an activist, an academic, a medical doctor, a businesswoman, a political thinker. I mean, the CV, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you here, not just because of your impressive CV and everything you've done for this country, but as a close friend of the family. So thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you very much. The family is very appreciative of all of the media attention that you are giving to the Arch, because he was a people's Arch.
That's what I felt was so important about people coming to pay their respects to the Arch, and his very simple pine coffin. You just hope that other leaders out there will look at the beauty of that pine casket and say to themselves, I want to be more like the Arch, the ordinary man.
The Arch continues to teach us, even as he is now with his maker, about the importance of being human. What it means to be human is to be consciously connected to others, understanding that we are interdependent, but also understanding that God has given us plenty through nature. But if we share it, everybody can have enough. But if we don't, and we pay attention to ostentatious consumption, then, of course, a lot of people are going to be without. The Arch's very simple, modest funeral is his last message is given to all of us, that we have to live with humility and consciously think about the needs of others.
So his funeral, that's so beautiful, his funeral is a symbol of humility and dignity for all South Africans, really. My condolences, of course, to you, because I haven't wished you yet, but how are you and the family holding up and having to share this man with so many people? Does it allow you to own private grief?
The beautiful thing about African culture is it isn't about private grief. You cannot have something called private grief. Grief is a marker of the departure of one of us. Whether they're in Canada or they're in Russia, they're one of us. But in this case, it's the departure of a man of the people. So that departure will be marked by the people, wherever they are. And so, in fact, instead of feeling hard done by, we are grateful. We are grateful for the outpouring of love. We are grateful for the support. We are sad that because of COVID, not everybody can actually participate in the final rites. But the fact that people have done what they've done so far really gives us a lot of strength.
How did Mama Leah cope, and close friends like you, cope with having somebody so close to you that was also everybody else's? He almost belonged to nobody because he was so universally loved and disliked by many. But I would say the overarching feeling was one of love.
You know, the beauty of love is that it never runs out. The more people love a person or people, the more love there is. And so this is what he showed us through his own manner. He didn't say, well, I have to pay attention to my children. Yes, he did. But he also paid attention to people like me, whom he adopted as a child, because when I was banished to the Limpopo province in 1977, he would call me every Monday for 8 years to make sure that I'm okay. And he'll say, oh, dearie, I can see your smile on the phone.
You can't be cross with someone that calls you dearie, can you? no matter what they've done.
Absolutely not.
Doctor, those sort of stories make the arch come even more with respects to life. Have you got any more of those memories that you could share with us?
Plenty of memories.
Just tell us a few.
Of the life. I mean, the thing about it, what amuses the world is just how at the slightest opportunity, he'll find a way of breaking the ice. Like he'll walk into a serious meeting and cover his face and then take it out. And what he was teaching us there is don't take yourself seriously. And at the time when we were opening the community health center that he had helped me fundraise for, and I was sad because I was thinking of all my comrades who had been killed and who couldn't be there. And he said, don't look so glum. You look much prettier with a smile. Okay? And many other things. I mean, I was telling people yesterday at the granary the story about coming to Cape Town from a village and being an activist, and we didn't really care about what you wear as long as you are decently washed and so on. And you say, oh dearie, we've got to have raised the quality of your wardrobe. And each time in his later years, I would go and visit Milnot, and he looked me up and down and said, you're looking very pretty. So that's the man. He is, he really was a man of the people. And of course, on a serious note, who could have saved that woman at that funeral who was about to be necklace? There were big men there. He was the smallest man. But his heart, as his wife said, like a lion, he just walked into that crowd. And, it's an imagery that teaches us also that you can't be on neutral or standing alongside a crime that's about to be committed, an indignity that's about, and you say, well, there isn't much I could do. There is a lot you could do, like he did.
If you're neutral, then you stand on the side of the oppressor, were the words I think he said.
Absolutely. That people would say, well, you should stick to being a preacher and so on. Don't get into politics. Well, and he said, but my sermons are about injustice because the God we serve is a just God. And you can't be neutral in the face of injustice because then you are complicit with the injustice. And so he was very clear. I mean, but at the same time, he was this man of joy and laughter, and it's not surprising that he wrote the Book of Joy with the Dalai Lama.
What is happening with the Dalai Lama? Has the family heard from him? I suppose with COVID he couldn't get here. He was such a good friend of the archers and the families, I understand. Absolutely.
He sent condolences. But he is also frail. He can't travel anymore. But they have videos, clips that were done when they were releasing their Book of Joy, and they were doing this rapati, and the Dalai Lama said, I know when I die, I'm going to see your face. And the other one says, oh, don't be so sure, So it's really that kind of person with a very sharp wit that always found something appropriate to say, something to make people laugh, or to comfort people, or to give courage to people.
Just talking about giving comfort to people, this has been such a difficult year for so many. Nearly everybody has lost somebody close to them. And you've probably had, you've had hardship in your life. What kind of comfort did the Arch give you to give you the fortitude that you needed, and perhaps could pass on to those of us who are feeling particularly sad at this time, to just keep one foot going in front of the other?
I mean, the Arch buried so many of those who died, and Steve was one of the most prominent ones. That he was then the Bishop of Lesotho, And even as he was burying Steve, conducting the funeral, there was a scuffle because people didn't want Chief Buthelezi or Prince Buthelezi to come into the stadium. And he diffused that as alongside doing his official rites. And so afterwards, of course, I've already mentioned this weekly call, but it wasn't just a weekly call to say, tick box, I've done anything I needed. Like when I didn't have the money to pay the builder who had built the community health center, I just called and said, Tata, I'm in trouble. I said, what's the problem, my dearie or my darling or...
I'm not going to get that out of my head. I'm going to have to look at my notes
I
to call
said,
you,
well,
doctor.
I've signed a contract and I don't have the money because the World University Service has pulled the plug on the funding. He said, oh dear, leave it with me. And he fixed it. He simply called the churches in the UK. They said, use the SACC money. That time he was the secretary of the SACC. Use the SACC, we'll fundraise to plug that gap. That's it. And so he wasn't just a preacher. He was a practical man who will solve practical problems. And yeah, I mean, you saw him at the TRC. He wasn't just compassionate in the sense of listening to the people who came to talk about their loss. He empathized to the point of crying. But he didn't continue to cry, and his beautiful wife was there to comfort him. But he needed to get that out so he could turn his attention to comforting those who were weeping.
How is Mamphela? How is she coping?
Well, losing a husband of 66 years is tough. I've been with her, and she has moments when she does the usual laughs and so on. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, today, as we're getting closer, it's even harder. But it's just exhausting. And so, yes, we're doing our best to support her. She's very strong. But like all of us, she has her moments.
I suppose for many, the grief really sits in when all the sort of protocols of dying and funerals end. That's really when the grief sets in for many people, and when she will need the hands of you and other friends to be holding hers. And somebody who was Patricia DeLille, who was at the house when the Arch took his last breath, said that Mamphela was singing to him earlier in the evening, and that was of great comfort. And yeah, we can only hope that she has the support that she needs.
She will have the support, because we were there at that moment of the last breath. We'll be there whenever, up to the end of her life. We won't leave her to be on her own. We promise Tata that we will continue to support her, and we will support her all the way through, because it's not about supporting a celebrity. It's about supporting people. And the two of them were a pair, and we've got to continue the same relationship that we had with that family.
Well, I can only say that if you could pass on to her and to you as a very close friend, that every sigh that we have as South Africans is a breath pushing her to strength and courage that she's had for all these years, and been a woman of such fortitude to the Arch too. So if you could pass on our condolences. Thank you.
I will definitely do that, and also I'm sure she would like me to thank you on her behalf for the beautiful coverage that you have given to this whole process of transition for the Arch, and she would like you to continue to honor the Arch's values.
Thank you, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele. It's been a privilege to be part of this coverage in commemorating such a wonderful man, and thank you so much for coming into Studio 2 and giving us your time.